Hey guys, Airsoft here and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how to upgrade your Marui VSR-10 G-Spec. In the description I'll be posting exactly at what time I'm doing each upgrade. So if there's a specific part you're looking for, then you can jump straight to it. Without further ado, let's get cracking on. So the first thing you want to be doing is to remove the stock from the barrel itself. So to do that, there are two screws you need to remove. So it's this one here and this one here. So to do that, you get your Allen key and you just remove them. Right, so now you've removed that, just bear in mind that there is a long one and a short one. So you want to make sure that when you put it back together, the long one goes at the back and the short one at the front. So to remove the stock now, all you have to do is lift up stock there and gently remove it from the rest. So now you're left with this. Now we've done that, what we're going to be doing now is upgrading the cylinder and all the internal parts that goes into the cylinder. So for this, I've got a Teflon cylinder kit for VSR-10, a M150 power spring, a cylinder guide, and a piston that comes with the Specialised VSR-10 trigger set. So the first thing you want to be doing to remove the cylinder is to remove the trigger guard. And to do that, what you need to do is remove this screw here. So go ahead and do that. So once you've done that, what you want to do is put this to the side, unless you've bought a upgraded version of this. I've decided not to upgrade it just because I didn't feel like it, but I will do in the near future. So for now, I'm going to put that to the side. What you want to be doing now is removing this little metal bit here, and by removing that will allow you to pull the cylinder out so we can focus on that. So go ahead and do that. So once you've done that, all you have to do is pull this back and it should come out nice and easy. So we can put the rest of the barrel away because we want to focus on this. Now we've just got the cylinder left, what we're going to do is remove the cap here with your Allen key. So go ahead and remove that. So once that's done, you want to take the screw out, the lid and the lever. You want to keep those to the side, you want to keep them safe because we will be using them again. This, however, we're going to be upgrading everything inside, so in this video we don't really need to keep this. What I'm going to be doing is just putting it away with the odd bits and bobs that I have for other parts. So that can go down there. Right, so let's start off with the Teflon cylinder kit. So here we have the Teflon cylinder. What you want to do is just open that up. Make sure not to try and damage anything whilst opening it up. Just checking if it's fairly clean. Yeah, seems good. So what we want to do first is get your spring guide, put that there, and your M150 spring. And what we'll be doing here is putting the spring guide like so, and it will be going in this way. So feed it all the way down, make sure it's on properly. You can see in the middle here, that seems to be good. And then your piston, if I can get it out, there it is, will be going in this side. So the metal bit first, making sure, and like so. But before we do that, we're just going to add a bit of lubrication. We want it to be nice and lubed up.
Yeah.
So what I'm using here is just silicone gun grease, and get a nice dose. And what you want to do on a spring guide is rub it all over, like so. Get it nice and greasy. And you want to do the same for the spring. So let's just get a bit more on that. You don't want to put too much, but just enough so it's well lubricated. Like so. There you go. So once that's in, you know what, I think I'm going to put a tiny bit more on this. There you go. So now that's done, put it in your cylinder, and now for the piston, what you want to do is again get a bit more grease and just put it on the two white areas. It doesn't matter if you get some elsewhere, as you see, very light everywhere else, it doesn't really matter. It's mostly these two white areas and surrounding. There you go. Cool. Great. So what you want to do here is place it on top, slowly put it down, and there you go. Next part is you want to enclose all of this. So you get your cylinder head, place it on top gently, and slowly push it in without pinching any of the rings, and twist. So, and that's it, you have your kit. What you want to do also is make sure this is nice and tight without damaging the nozzle. The last thing you want to do is to damage the nozzle. So what I'm going to be using, just drying that off slightly, tighten it as much as you can by hand, and then very carefully get your Allen key, or however you'd like to do it, and tighten it up without damaging the nozzle. If you're worried about damaging the nozzle, put some tape around it, you know, but there you go, nice and tight, perfect. So that's the cylinder done. What you want to be doing is putting it all back together. So the lever, this, and the screw. Before you do that, make sure you add a generous amount of grease to this bit. You want it nice and greased up. Like so. And then you can get your lever and start reassembling it. And there you go, your cylinder upgraded, ready to be put back into the rest of the rifle. So now the cylinder's done, what we're going to do is replace the trigger unit now. So to do this, what you want to be doing is removing two screws, this one here and this one at the back. So go ahead and do that. So once you've removed your old trigger, you can now, just the screws. Now you've taken your old trigger out, you can put it to the side. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the cylinder. I'll just put it in a box with other things. I don't really need it for now, so I'll just put that to the side. And what we're going to be doing is replacing it with the Specialised 90-degree trigger. So I've already opened the box earlier, but here it is. So what you want to do first is remove the 2 screws at the back of the trigger. So there's one here and one here, and what that is holding a small block which we'll be placing on first and getting that down. So go ahead and remove those 2 with your Allen keys. So now that's done, you should have your little block and your 2 screws. Make sure you don't lose these screws. These will be necessary to put it back on, obviously. So what you want to do is align the hole in the block with the back hole of your rifle. So right there. Once that's aligned, you want to take one of your bigger screws that came with the trigger set and screw that in so that it is nice and tight. So once that's on, what I've done is left it slightly loose so that it's got a bit of room to move when installing this. I'm going to make sure it's all good, all straight, then tighten it up, and then I'll remove this again, lube it up and secure it properly. So this should be lined up nicely. As you see, that drops down nicely. Cool, so I know that's lined up. Gently remove that and you can go ahead and tighten this up now. So just before I put it on, what I'm going to do is grab my oil or any chosen lubricant. This time I'm choosing oil just because it can get into the mechanics of it, whereas the grease, I can only put it as much as I can touch. So get the oil, couple of drops on the trigger unit. You know, you don't want to overdo it. Get that nice and lubricated. And I'm going to put a mixture of this grease on this trigger here. Not the trigger, sorry. This, I have no, excuse my terminology, that thing. Right. So as you can see, I've greased this up nicely and it's ready to be installed. So what you want to do is place this in this hole right there. Line it up again. Make sure it's all lined up with all the screws. And here what you want to do is grab your 2 screws that you removed earlier from the block and place them back in. So go ahead and do that. Once that's done, you can grab the last big screw that came with the box and place it at the front to secure the front area. So that should line up nicely. Plot it in and you can go ahead and secure that one. So now the trigger's done, what we can do now is grab the cylinder from earlier and we'll be able to install that in. So just before we do that, I'm just going to put a bit of lubricant on the barrel, the cylinder, sorry, itself. So here you don't want to be too much, just enough so it's slightly lubricated, just so it's a bit slippery. Once you've lubricated it, you can now insert the cylinder into the receiver. For this, what you want to do is pull this bar up and pull the trigger. And I believe it should just be able to slot in nicely. Perfect. So once it's done that, what you want to do is push this down and it should, in theory, lock into place like so. Now we've mounted the trigger, what we're going to do is put the trigger guard back. But before you do so this trigger guard doesn't quite fit with the trigger we've put on. So what we're going to have to do here is get your hacksaw, or get a hacksaw basically, and just saw off a tiny bit there. So that's here where you're going to have to saw off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off now, and I'll be right back. So now that's cut off, what we're going to do is place it back onto the trigger, aligning the screw, and tighten that up. Don't worry about it being slightly loose on this side. The stock, when we put it back on, should secure it. So it should look something a bit like this. So now we've done the trigger unit and the cylinder, what we're going to be working on now is the inner barrel. So to get to the inner barrel, we have to remove this from the receiver. To do so, there are 2 screws which we need to take out. So the bottom screw here needs to be removed, and the top Allen key closest to the barrel. For this one, you don't have to take it out completely, just loosen it up. It's just so it doesn't ruin the thread, because that's what it's currently rested on. And for this one, you want to be really careful not to damage it. This is probably the most important screw that you can have on this rifle. So go ahead and delicately take the screws out. So now you've removed your bottom screw and loosened the top, what we can do now is just twist the barrel, and after a while it should come off. Don't yank it because you're just going to break it or ruin the thread. There you go, gently put it out. We can put this to the side, and we're going to be focusing on this bit. To get to the inner barrel and the hop up, what you want to do is remove this. To remove this, you will need to remove 2 screws, one there and another smaller one right there. So go ahead and remove those 2. So once you remove those 2 screws, you can now put this to the side. We will be putting that back on, and you're left with this. So right now what you need to do is grab your screwdriver and remove the hop up arm. Once that small screw is removed, you can take off this arm, and you should be able to slide the inner barrel and hop up, not hop out. Yeah, you should be able to slide it out. There you go. So now we're left with this. So what we're going to be doing here now is removing the hop up chamber from the inner barrel. So to do that, there are 4 screws you need to take out. The first one is located right here, the second one right here, and these 2 screws right here. So go ahead and remove those. So once that's done, you should be able to remove the hop up chamber. I'm not going to be using this, so I can just put this all to the side. I'll sort it out in a bit. And what you want to do is gently remove this. So little wiggles until it comes off. So you can upgrade this. I've chosen not to upgrade it, only due to the fact that it's still good to use. I will be upgrading it as well as the trigger guard in the near future, but for now this will still work nicely. So once you've removed it, you can put away your inner barrel. We won't be using this, as we will have a new inner barrel. So this is specifically for the VSR-10 G-Spec. It's 300mm, and I've gone for the 6.01mm. There is also the 6.03. It's up to you which one you choose. I particularly haven't had an issue with the 01, so I'm going to continue using it. Similar to the cylinder, what we're going to do is just inspect it, just to make sure it's relatively clean. Yeah, that seems to be all good. So what you want to be doing now is take your hop-up bucking and place it on the inner barrel. So to do that, there is a slight ridge to the bucking, which you want to align that with the line you can see here on the inner barrel. Gently doing it, so like this, and it should fit on nicely. You should making sure it's not too far forward, not too far back, and you should be able to tell when it's on. Perfect. So now that's the elements of the inner barrel done. What we're going to do is take our hop-up chamber, and we will be installing these two. Now the inner barrel's done, we can focus on setting the inner barrel into the hop-up chamber. In the hop-up chamber, you should receive your hop-up and a bunch of different bits and bobs, small bits and bobs. You want to make sure you don't lose them, put them to the side, keep them safe. You will be using them very shortly. But first, what you want to do is take your chamber and pull this little black thing out. And what you want to do here is feed the barrel through it this way, like that, and so it rests against the bucking. So once you've done that, you want to be taking your inner barrel with your bucking and through the bigger hole of the chamber. You want to be placing it there so that the edge bit here is coming through the hole we can see right here. So go ahead and push that through, so that should be fitted on nicely. Now this is where we use our screws. So here in the box you will see a small screw, two longer screws, a spring, a small rubber part. So when you're putting it in, what you want to be doing is, as you are putting it in, you should see two circles on this black part, which need to align with the hole that you see there and there. So once you've aligned those, what you need to do is grab the small screw, and underneath, as shown here, you need to screw them in. And then once that's done, you can now screw the bigger ones on each side. So making sure they're aligned, place them in, and you can go and screw them in. So now these are screwed in, it shouldn't be coming out. And what we want to be doing here is we can now focus on this bit right here. So what you want to do is placing it like such, get the spring and put it into the hole. With this rubber, you want to be placing it gently right here. Make sure you don't drop it, because it could be a pain to find on the floor. Now those two are in, gently push it up, keeping pressure onto it, and using the plastic bit we can place it on. So if you hold both of those down and look below, you will see two holes, one where the BB would go through and another for an Allen key. So what you want to do is tighten up the plastic bit you've just put on by putting your Allen key through that and tighten it up. This is also where you will be adjusting your hop once we've installed this. So make sure that you always have an Allen key on you, one that would fit this obviously, to every game you go to when you're using the sniper, because the worst thing is when you're out there shooting and it's completely messed up and you can't change it. So now that should be on. That's the hop up done. Now that the inner barrel and the hop ups put together, we can start reassembling everything back. So to reassemble, similar to how we disassembled it, put the hop up chamber and barrel through, and you want to make sure you align this hole here with that hole there. So if you go ahead and align that, and then from here you want to be taking this part, you want to be taking this part and placing it back where it should go, like so. So once that's done, go ahead and screw those back in. So now that's put together, what we can do now is reassemble the barrel with the receiver. So gently put it back on and start screwing it up. What you want to make sure is when you get to the end is to untighten it to the point where this hole now, so here I've reached the end, I can't tighten anymore, nor do I want to, is untighten it. So start unscrewing it and making sure that the two holes are aligned here. A good way to see if it's aligned is, you can tell this is fairly straight. So make sure that's aligned, and what you want to do is put the very important screw back in and screw that on, as well as the Allen key screw at the top that we loosened up earlier. So go ahead and tighten those up. So now you've upgraded all your internals, you can now reassemble this part with the stock. So what you want to do is, what I like to do is put the trigger in first, make sure that's aligned nicely, and then gently lower the that's not fitting in. You may need to have a small play about like that. So once you've put these two together, you can get your two screws we originally removed and you can place them back. Remember, the long one being at the back and the short one at the front. So once they're put back in, tighten them up. And there you have it, your fully upgraded Marui VSR-10 G-Spec. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you learned a couple of things. I know I definitely learned a couple of things from when I started this project. As far as I know, these are fairly easy to upgrade, and there's so much information out there. So if you're ever stuck on something, just look online or look at this video again. I hope you guys enjoy it, and see you next time.